Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Juliette and I will be your host. Before we get started, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat window. We'll have an open Q&A session at the end. Okay, let's begin with an introduction of today's speaker. So Jeff, would you like to start?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Well, so thank you again for being with us today. And I have to say it was really a great pleasure to meet a lot of you at Microsoft Ignite last month. A lot of you have been playing to our game, Gizmo Assemble the Clue, and you cracked the case. So let's introduce ourselves. Jan, maybe you can start.
Hi guys, I'm Jan. I'm the Client Service Director at GSX. You may have heard from me, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Jan. Can't wait to see all your data and statistics. So, me, I'm Jean-François Piot. I'm VP for Product Marketing and Microsoft Alliance Manager. If there's people from Microsoft, you certainly already have heard about me. So, let's go to the agenda and let's help you understand. That's really the purpose of this session. So, let's help you understand how GSX can help you solve your issues by detecting, analyzing, and of course improving your Office 365 experience and your overall Microsoft Teams delivery. So let's go, and it is true that understanding Office 365 performance or service quality issue is a bit like a clue game, for sure, and that's why it was the theme at Microsoft Ignite. And so we are here now to show you with real statistics how GSX can help you to improve your end-user experience. And we will focus our session on the fastest growing cloud workload since the beginning of Microsoft, and I mean Teams, of course. So it's no secret that Skype for Business will be completely replaced by Microsoft Teams sooner or later. As you may know, it's no longer possible to get Skype for a tenant with less than 500 users now. And all these new tenants must use Teams. And it's only a matter of time now. We will all use Teams exclusively. Therefore, Teams voice quality is becoming highly critical to monitor. So regarding the SLA, as you may know, at the moment, there's only one SLA on Teams, and it's based on the availability of your instant messaging at the edge of Microsoft Data Center. Certainly, in the near future, Microsoft will soon provide the same SLA that they have for Skype. That means one SLA for chat availability, one for call availability, and one for voice quality. So it's important to understand that all of these SLA cover the service delivered at the edge of Microsoft Data Center. And at the end, it's completely normal, as Microsoft is not managing your network and your infrastructure components. As a result, what is between your user and the Microsoft Data Center is still yours to manage. And the service quality delivered to your user is entirely under your responsibility. So it's not because the voice service is migrated from Skype for Business to Teams that Microsoft recommendations in terms of monitoring are not accurate anymore. So to sum up quickly in the next slide, so you need to perform frequent automatic calls from every location. You need to record the result in terms of quality over a long period of time to detect patterns in voice and network quality. It is better if you test from the client side and from the edge of your network to measure the true impact of your network, of course, on the voice quality. If you can do all of that, you will have the data you need to understand your voice quality. What Microsoft is not saying is how to collect this data, nor how complex it might be. And that is exactly what we do with GSX. Our robot user can easily be installed in all critical locations to continuously use Office 365 and collect the end-user experience data you need to manage it. Regarding Teams, the robot user will continuously perform real calls, alert and report on call quality, and critical network metrics you need to understand what is going on in your whole environment. So now that we know how to collect the data, so let's talk about our use case. So it's the slide before. Can you come back on the slide before? So we will talk today about the real use case that happened with one of your customers, running Teams service on 6 different locations all around the world. So shortly after their deployment, 3 of their locations started to accumulate a lot of support tickets and, of course, a lot of complaints about Teams voice quality. So they were definitely in a situation of a clue game. But before GSX, it was like playing this game without any evidence. And you cannot only rely on guess when it comes to managing your cloud and user experience. So to understand what happened, the client needed data. So we installed our robot user in all 6 locations using Office 365 workloads continuously, collecting end-user experience and key network data. So one in Bangalore, Boston, Leeds, Casablanca, London, and Sydney. It was the all 6 locations. So now what were these robot users doing? So to specifically understand the voice quality, the robot users were set to perform Teams voice call every 5 minutes over a period of multiple weeks. And again, the purpose was to be able to detect patterns and to understand over a long period of time what was the voice quality, what was the problem. So the first challenge was to determine for each location if people were complaining for a real reason or not. So we see that with an example in the next slide. Acknowledging the issue is really the first step to heal it. Of course, the second step is to understand the scope of the issue. Is the issue everywhere or is it to one location? How severe is the issue if the issue is real? And finally, you want to understand who to contact to fix the issue. Is it your local team at each location? Is it your ISP? Is it your infrastructure team? That's another area where robot user data will help you. And this is what we have done with this client, and this is what we will show you right now. So let's go directly to the dashboard and see this issue and how to understand them, thanks to Jan. Jan, it's your part.
Thank you, Jeff. So basically what I'm showing here is what we call our top-level dashboard. We show the top 5 critical locations according to the number of warnings that we've been reporting with our robots. Here in a snap, you can see that Casablanca, Sydney, and London are all experiencing more issues than any other location in the environment. Our dashboard here allows us to spot an issue right there in a snap. The dashboard shows the availability for end users of all Office 365 workloads that we are monitoring with our robots for all locations. Usually that number is in the upper 80s to 100%, and basically that makes sense because this is the percentage of time our robots were able to perform Office 365 user actions, and here we are relying on the Microsoft SLA of 99.9%, so it makes sense that we are always finding the service available. Where it makes more difference is the performance and the quality of the service that we are providing to our end users. With such high quality from Microsoft, they are doing a bang-up job, providing exceptional service quality up to the edge of their data center. It's obvious that we will find the service to be available there. This said, it makes a very big difference when quality is concerned. Are we able to actually perform the call within the acceptable boundaries of quality? This is what we are showing here. Basically, that gauge is showing us the percentage of time our robots were able to make a call using Teams with the acceptable quality data. I'll show that later on. You'll understand what I mean right here, but basically that's what we're doing here. Here, in a couple of seconds, we see that quality was okay only 68% of the time, which confirms that there is an issue at certain locations. The map here also is of very good interest. Basically, this shows if we're having issues and where we're having issues. Again, very simple to do. We can see that Casablanca, London, and Sydney are all having issues. Basically, the bigger the area, the bigger our end users down there are having issues. So now that we all understand what the dashboard is all about, we can concentrate on the various workloads and dashboards that we have for these workloads. Today, we will concentrate obviously on Teams. We have dashboards for SharePoint, Exchange, and everything above. The dashboard that I'm showing here is basically the dashboard for Teams voice quality. It's the overall quality of Teams voice calls performed at each location by our robots. Availability, no surprise, 99 point something percent, basically, again, Microsoft doing bang up job, always available. What we care, though, is on the performance and the quality of these calls. Here we can see that in 56% of the time, were we only able to make quality calls here. With this availability, this type of availability available from Microsoft, this is where we need to pay attention, basically. It only makes sense that we can reach Microsoft almost 100% of the time. Where we should pay attention is how good the quality it is that we are getting from these calls made to Teams. As you know, now that we consume services over the cloud, for end users, slow is the new down. So this is where we need to pay our attention. Also here on the right side, we find it very handy to see what the network looks like. It will help us quickly identify if the network is having issues or when the network is having issues, and the impact it has on our quality, basically. Again, here, you're now familiar with that. The locations here are sorted by the number of warnings that we are receiving. Very obvious to see that Casablanca, Sydney, and London are having issues. The other 3 locations that we are monitoring are performing okay. And this basically allows us to limit our investigations to these 3 cities. Another important stat is the MOS. It's basically the most important stat that you'll take a look at for your quality assessments as far as Teams voice is concerned. It's the mean opinion score. It's the true indicator of the quality that you get from Teams on voice from Teams. This is an end user rated feedback, and it's not always available. What we do here is compute it using network statistics, and it allows us to basically get a real feel of what's going on. Theoretically, the MOS can go up to 5, and basically it's rated from 0 to 5, 5 being the maximum. In the field, we see that 4.5 is about the maximum you'd get. Below 4, end users start to complain, and you start to have tickets. Then again, we'll have some key statistics that we are using to crack the case on issues with Teams voice quality, the bandwidth, packet reorder, network latency, jitter. I'll dive into that more in detail later on, but basically, as you can see here, for example, on the packet reorder, we are always providing the Microsoft recommended threshold. For packet reorder, we need to be below 0.5% to reach decent quality using Teams as far as voice is concerned. Very easy to spot that we may be having issues in certain locations here, like, for example, London. So here, in about 2 minutes talking about this dashboard, I'm able to spot a few things. Microsoft's voice available. We do have issues somewhere. Network is more than likely to be looked at, and I can spot the 3 locations that are having issues, and I can limit my investigations to these. Let's concentrate on what's happening in Casablanca. So in Casablanca, again, 99 point something availability. That's great. No surprise here. Microsoft, great. Perfect. Thank you. Performance delivered to end users and quality only lower than, basically slightly lower than 85%. Okay, we're not doing such a great job here. But where we need to really pay attention is our network performance. Here it's completely appalling. We know that in pretty much no case, the network was up to par at this location. We take a look at the MOS, sort of like above 4, so we know that they are being okay, but we see some data below that. Though it's not obvious, we need to concentrate there. If we take a look at the bandwidth, we see that there might be an issue. Packet reorder is just fine. Jitter seems to be impacted a bit, but you can see right here, network latency is way above the Microsoft recommended threshold. So in Casablanca, what's happening? End users are all complaining about satellite-like quality on their voice. They get calls with unnatural pauses, just as like I've just done just like a second ago, and people are speaking over each other. We know for a fact that network latency is usually at blame here. So basically, what we'll do is investigate what's going on here. And I'll remind you, Microsoft is recommending to do frequent automatic calls, record the data over long period of times, and that's basically the only way to identify what the issue could be. Here, using our dashboards and using our facts and metrics that are basically captured by the robots, we know there is an issue right here. We know where to locate it. We know how bad the problem is, and we can actually pinpoint what could be the problem. Network latency usually is due to incorrect routing setup or maybe to an issue with the local network equipment. We contacted the Casablanca IT team. They actually found that there was a bad router configuration, fixed it, and we were back in business. Again, see here in about 3 minutes, using our robots, using our data, the fact that we are following Microsoft recommendations of making automatic calls frequent, making sure that we are collecting the data over a long period of time allows us to actually pinpoint the issue in a snap. Let's focus now on Sydney. I know that there is an issue in Sydney. What's going on over there? Basically, people are complaining quite a bit over there. We have robot voices, and sometimes we get long periods of silence. Again, no surprise, Microsoft 99% of the time. I'm not going to mention it anymore. We see that the performance delivered to end users is really bad. Less than 1% of the time are we able to provide good quality calls to our end users over there. Network is performing better here than we are doing in Casablanca, but we are still below 15%. What's going on? What's the issue? Take a look at the MOS. It's very easy to see that the MOS is below the Microsoft recommendation of 4. We all know that below 4 users are starting to complain. And basically here we see that it is constantly below 4 and usually very bad. I'll take a look at the other stats. Packet reorder seems to be fine. Network latency is okay, seems to be so-so, and jitter is not impacted. So I'm assuming it's going to be an issue of maybe bandwidth and packet loss somewhere around these lines. Now, the good thing is that we provide different types of dashboards. Here we have like the top level Teams voice quality dashboard. We have an in-depth dashboard that allows us to drill into statistics and help us identify and crack the case. Here I'm showing the Sydney data for Teams voice, and it's obvious right there in the middle of the screen. You see that we're way above the Microsoft recommendation of 0.5% for packet loss, and we know that there is an issue right there. MOS average is below, but that's more than likely related to packet loss. Network latency and jitter are more than likely impacted by packet loss as well. Now, if I concentrate on bandwidth, I see that I'm dropping down to 0 fairly often. Again, using our dashboard, we are able to actually show there is an issue. Again, this is our main concern. First, identify if the issue is real. Is it really, is there really a problem over there? And actually, are users complaining for a real reason? Here we can say for sure, yes, there is an issue in Sydney. Users are complaining for a valid reason. There is a bunch of packet loss going on. And we know exactly what we need to do for that. Basically, using our dashboard, we know we need to go check with the ISP on the bandwidth. Also, for packet loss, we know that there is something to do more than likely with DSCP or DiffServ to ensure that we are providing quality of service on the network to optimize our traffic for the team's workload traffic, basically. Once again, you see how important it is to collect the data we show in our dashboard. Using this, we can identify the issue, verify that the issue is real, verify that end users are complaining for valid reasons. We directly understand who is responsible to help us fix the problem. Here, the ISP and the packet loss. And basically, it becomes very easy to fix the problem in no time. You avoid the blame game, internal department blame games. You avoid the automatic escalations to Microsoft. And with that data, you actually work efficiently on your issues. You bridge the silos between the IT departments, and you shorten your time to resolution. Very critical to understand that. Now, if you remember, on our dashboard here, we were also having issues in London. So I opened that data right here. In London, 99.9%, no surprise. Quality is below 30%, and network is the highest we've seen in the locations that were having issues. People over there in London, they are complaining about everything. Basically, we have satellite-like quality voice, we have robot voice, we have call dropping, we have speech pace speeding and slowing down depending on the moments, basically the whole enchilada. They are not able to use Teams properly, and basically it shows right here on the MOS. It's all over the place. The MOS is highly inconsistent, sometimes good, but usually bad. If we take a look at our other statistics, packet reorder is fairly often above the Microsoft recommendation. Network latency is completely crazy. And if you look at the jitter, it's as expected, very, very high. So this is basically the typical type of case that is impossible to crack if you're not collecting data over a long period of time. I mean, if you take a look at the network, for example, here, you may think that everything is okay. You know, you test from time to time and you find that I'm fine here. Okay. Now, if I move a little bit and I find, you know, that the network is not performing fine, as you saw right here, there's a 0. So depending on the time I'm testing the network, I may find this is okay, or I may find it is not. If you're not collecting your data over a long period of time, it becomes impossible to crack this type of case. We know we have an issue here. It might be ISP, it might be something else. I'm not exactly sure. So what are we going to do? Use our in-depth dashboard, and basically I'll compare the London office to the Nice office. In Nice, from the first dashboard, as you may remember right here, we know that Nice is doing okay. All right, so I'm going to compare London to Nice, and it becomes very obvious once more. London is having way more issues than Nice is having. Using our dashboard, you know for a fact that people complaining in London are complaining for a real reason. I'll take a look at the different stats that we have, and you see, for example, like right here, network latency is so high in London that the threshold is not even showing on the graph. We don't even see Nice right there. I mean, we know there is an issue right here. Jitter is about the same. Packet reorder is about the same. One thing that actually needs our attention is right here. You can see that London is basically having about half the bandwidth that Nice is having. So again, right here, we know there is an issue. We know it's more than likely related to bandwidth. We know how we need to address the issue. We have our data. We can go to the ISP, talk to the ISP with confidence. You know, we are collecting our data. We have our data set, and we know when issues are happening. This is exactly what we've done over there in London. We talked to the ISP, verified that everything was fine. So then, right there, we know that the issue is more than likely something that is happening inside our boundaries of the network. becomes fairly easy. Packet sniffing, you start to understand what's going on. And basically, we discovered over there that some servers were constantly backing up large amounts of data to the cloud, basically hogging the bandwidth and basically impacting the team's voice quality just because of that. Answer to that problem, we talked about DSCP before, DivServ and things like this. We know that there is a possibility to actually enforce TOS on the network. This is something that we needed to do here, but where the trick is that you actually need to ensure the quality of your service up to the edge of the Microsoft data center. Again, I'm insisting on that. They are doing a bang-up job. It's always available. Exceptional service quality up to the edge of their data center. We are responsible for what's going on from the edge of our network to the edge of the Microsoft data center. To do that, usually the best way is to actually talk to Microsoft about the relevance of express routes, and this is what we've done in London here, just making sure that we had enough bandwidth and the quality of service that Team Voice needed to be able to provide quality up to the Microsoft data center. Hopefully this makes sense, and I'm happy to discuss anything that you may have as far as questions are concerned and things like this.
Well, thank you, Jan. Yeah, it was really interesting. We'll try to finish in a couple of minutes. So maybe we can come back to the slide very quickly to conclude our webinar. So to sum up this webinar, we can say that Microsoft provides good services for sure. We said that multiple times. But again, at the edge of the data center. So you are still responsible for the service delivered to your user. You need data to know the quality of services you are providing. And with voice Teams quality monitoring data, you can first acknowledge the reality of the issue that your site can experience. You can scope the issue geographically. You can understand how serious the issues are. And with proper end user experience and network metrics, you can bridge the gap between IT silos and know who can help you to solve these issues. And finally, and you will see that, you will really limit internal ticket escalation and have the ability to assign incident to the appropriate vendor. So now we can move on to your question very quickly, if there was any question.
Yeah, sure. Question. Let's get started with the first one. Have you ever faced a situation when a network equipment affected the user experience?
So yes, actually we see very, very often in enterprise infrastructures for bigger customers, Fortune 500 and things like this, really often see proxies in large environments like that. Using our robots, we've tested with and without the proxies, to, adjusting the route that they were taking. And the results are pretty much always the same. When we are using proxies all the time, we are decreasing the team voice and user experience. Doesn't mean that we get too low on the end user experience, but it's always a trade-off between balancing, you have to balance between performance and security.
Thank you, Jan. Can you please tell again, if you measure the connection to Microsoft from your data center and provide this information to us, or does we have to set up end-to-end stations? That's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, go, yeah. No, Bob, okay, look. So what we do is that with customer is that we set up our robot where the user are, so at critical sites. You want the robot to be as close as the user as you can in order to reflect the real end user experience. So yes, to have an accurate measure of the end user experience, you need to set up this robot on any Windows machine that you can have in this location. You can also, if you want, install some of them in cloud services like Amazon or Azure in order to also measure from an external point of view the voice Teams experience. Juliette?
Yes, another question for you. For how long do you keep the statistics data?
Oh, well, that's an easy one as well. Yeah, okay, go Jan, this time.
I can address that. Yeah, really, we can keep the data for as long as you need, basically. We store the data into a SQL DB. Now it becomes a question of how big of a SQL DB can you provide for the solution. It doesn't get too big, but it's just a question of balancing again.
Another question for you. How do you collect all the data that you show in the Power BI dashboard?
Yeah, that's a very similar question to what I just answered. So basically, the robots will be installed on the various locations, right where your end users are. Now, when the robot actually makes a call to Office 365, we will collect all the stats that we are looking at, jitter and everything I talked about. That will make its way into a SQL DB. If that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Jan. Can I be alerted by the robots instead of reacting to user complaints?
I'll get that as well. Very easy to answer. Yes, our robots not only collect statistics, but it will actually also alert you in case the service is degrading. And that's the beauty of our solution here. We collect data over time, and that allows us to verify Microsoft is doing their good job. It allows us to verify that we are providing quality service, and it allows us to actually be proactive rather than reactive. The robots will absolutely alert you with various different means, depending on how we configure them, so that you're aware of services performance degrading, and you can sometimes even address the issue even before end users are actually noticing that there is something really wrong with the service that they are using.
Okay, thank you. Does the robot need an account?
So basically, to make all these teams call, what we recommend is to have one account for every 10 robots.
Thanks. How do you suggest to deploy robots in a big company with thousands of locations? We cannot force every location to dedicate a Windows machine for them, and they need to be maintained, always on, etc.
That's fairly easy to do. We can do that using GPOs, for example. So you can set the MSI and associate it to a GPO. Set your robot's host to be in that GPO, and basically that will deploy pretty much magically.
Yeah, another way as well is for people have a lot of location. Usually they deploy at least one robot per region. You start like that, and you choose your critical location, of course. And then what does our big customer is that they have always a pool of robots that they deploy where they start to have a problem for analyzing the situation over let's say 1 week, 1 month, and then they fix the situation and they move the robot to somewhere else where they start to have problems. Of course, if you can deploy 1,000 of them, yes, it's kind of, you have to maintain them, etc. But everything is managed centrally from one console, so it's pretty easy, as Jan said, to deploy and maintain. But again, if you have 1,000 of locations, start with your region first, then go to critical countries, and then with that, we have customers with more than 100 robots, and then keep a pool of robots that you will deploy when you start to have problem at critical location to analyze the situation, to fix it, and then you move on to another location where there is a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. We're just about to go over time now, so no worries if we did not get the chance to answer your question. We'll get back to you really shortly. We thank you all for your participation today. An evaluation is about to show up in your browser, so please take a moment to provide us with your feedback. We appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Don't forget one final note. Don't forget that we are here, of course, to help you with your Teams tenant deployment project. We offer you free assessment for one of your locations. You can We can obviously also work on wider assessment of Teams voice quality on multiple locations and for multiple workloads of Office 365. Just contact us and we will see that with you. And finally, you can also try the complete solution for yourself for free with free location for 14 days. And right before to say bye-bye to you, just want to tell you our next webinar. Juliette will tell you when, and the next webinar will be about a comparison. It will be very interesting. We will compare the performance and the voice quality between Skype for Business Online and Teams, depending on various network configuration, and we will see which one is better. So I think it might be very interesting for you too. So that's the final word. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jan. And again, contact us for more questions. We're here to answer. It will be a pleasure for us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.